sooner or later there just isn't going to be any silver left. And I watch, the amount being flown into London, so far in March, and we're only 6 days into March right now. I didn't do today's numbers, but they've already flown in 25 million ounces of silver, and nothing has been shipped out.
Ed Steer, it's great to have you back on the program. It's been a while since we talked. I'm going to open the show with the same question I ask every guest. And in this case, we're focusing on the precious metals market. So I want to ask you, what are the main themes and trends you're currently watching when it comes to gold and silver that you think more investors and stackers should be paying attention to?
The whole precious metals world has been watching the amount of gold and silver being shipped into the COMEX since the beginning of the year, and because it's just been awesome to watch. It's still ongoing, especially in silver. There's that front and center that people should be watching. But the other thing that's always in the background and getting closer and closer is that brick wall, that structural deficit in silver, which is now in its 5th year. How much silver is left in the float in London remains to be seen. It's down to like 300 million ounces or less than that, well under that now. You just do the math, and sooner or later there just isn't going to be any silver left. And I watch, the amount being flown into London, so far in March, and we're only 6 days into March right now. I didn't do today's numbers, but they've already flown in 25 million ounces of silver, and nothing has been shipped out. And in gold, so far in March, they brought in 1.543 million ounces and actually shipped out 840,000 ounces. And you have to wonder who would be shipping that kind of gold off the COMEX. It's not just going in and sitting there; it's actually moving out. So, that's 840,000 ounces is a lot of gold, almost 30 tons or 25 tons. It's a lot. So it's these sort of things that are going on in the market, like the deficit and the flows into the COMEX, and also the flows into GLD and SLV. It's just absolutely amazing to watch. SLV, since the beginning of the year, has been about 15 million ounces of silver deposited in SLV. But, since the beginning of the year, SLV inventories have dropped 28 million ounces. So you add in the 15 million plus 28, there's been 43 million ounces of silver shipped out of SLV so far this year. I mean, that's just unbelievable. It's incredible what's going on. And, these are the things that I'm watching, and it just shows that the drain on the physical market in silver and in gold is just absolutely off the charts.
Well, switching back to silver for a moment here, the vast majority of silver is mined as a byproduct of other metals such as gold, copper, zinc, etc. It seems to me that this makes it very difficult to ramp up production to meet rising demand and to fill these supply shortfalls that you're speaking of. You said this is the 5th year that we've been in a silver deficit. Am I missing something here? How does this work if we need to get more silver and there's very few pure play silver mines in existence?
It doesn't work. It's as simple as that. It's impossible. Right now, I think I was listening to an interview by Keith Neumeyer yesterday or the day before, and he mentioned that, they're mining about 840 million ounces of silver a year. And if the silver was repriced tomorrow to about 10 times what it is today, which is a far more realistic price, that wouldn't change the number of ounces of silver coming out of the ground tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the next month, or the next year. You take a mine, any mine, I don't care what it is, what they're mining. Let's say it's a silver mine for obvious reason. They have this ore body, which they know how much is in, measured and indicated and reserves and, things like that. And the geologists have a mine plan, and they're going to drill this and they're going to drill that, and they're going along this way and that way, and then they're going to take out this ore body, and they're not. That doesn't change on a dime. And what else is going to happen once silver is repriced at, let's say $300 an ounce, is that all of a sudden the indicated reserves that they have in the halo of deposit, of resources around their main ore body, that may be only 30 or 40 or 50 grams per ton, which is totally, unrealistic and unprofitable to mine, suddenly becomes wildly profitable. So, to extend the life of their ore bodies, the geologists will sit down with everybody and say, look, we can be mining this stuff at 50 grams a ton, and we got like 500 meters of this stuff, and we can make wild profits with it. So let's change our mine plan. Instead of high grading our mines, the 500 grams per ton over here, we're going to do 50 over here, make twice as much money. Okay, and what you may see over time is that to extend the life of the ore body, they're going to mine less than mine more, regardless of what the price is. I'm speculating on this, but the fact of the matter is that most silver, like everybody knows, comes as a byproduct from other mines, whether it be gold or copper, lead, zinc or zed. What am I saying here?
Zinc or lead, yeah.
It all comes right. It all comes as silver is a byproduct for most of these, and if they're mining copper, they're not going to mine another, any more copper just to get the byproduct silver out of it. So yeah, I can tell you right now that, even if silver went to whatever, I don't care what the price is going to go, it's not going to change anything that comes out of the ground anytime soon, like in the next week, next month, or even the next year. The deficit is permanent. You have to understand that once this deficit hits, once the brick wall is hit, so whatever comes out of the ground will be the demand, because there isn't any more unless people are prepared to sell their physical holdings to make a big profit on it. So it's a brick wall that I won't live to see supply demand get back into balance. It's as simple as that.
So silver's share of global financial wealth is incredibly low on a historic basis at the moment. Peter Kraut recently cited it as low as 0.1%. What do you think the potential catalyst could be that could push that number higher, perhaps get more institutional investment into the space? Would it kind of be when that brick wall is hit, and is it a number go up type of thing where once it gets to a certain price, then the big players start to pay attention? What are your thoughts there?
Well, it's not going to take very much, and here's the reason. Everybody is talking about silver. Like 5 years ago, you could hardly find anybody talking. People like you and I were talking about it. When I started off in this business back in 1998, the only two people around were Ted Butler and Dave Morgan. Okay, and you could hardly anybody talking about it. And everybody that's come along since, if there's more and more talk, but as things have come up just in the last 2 or 3 years. 5 years or whatever, it's been building up to a crescendo where everybody that's in the retail market knows everything about it. Okay, you and I and everybody's listening to this podcast. As they're loaded up on silver already, they got their mining shares, and even on a day like today where silver's up 30 cents, the shares are booming. They're doing very well. Yesterday was a boomer of a day for a bunch of silver mining companies. So if silver went up $1, okay. Let's say silver went up $1 tomorrow, okay, I guarantee you that it wouldn't take very much and people will jump into this space. This thing is on a knife edge and it could blow sky high anytime. And of course, the moment that these big commercial short traders decide that they're not going to sell short into the next rally, because they're the only thing preventing prices from rising. They're sitting there as short sellers of last resort, not-for-profit sellers to prevent exactly what we're talking about. But this brick wall is coming. It's no way to avoid it. And I can guarantee you that as the moment the silver's up $1 or $2 or $3 in a day, which is that's coming, is that everybody with a cell phone and a brokerage account, which there are tens of millions, will type in the word silver or gold or whatever and buy whatever comes up on their screen, and the market will absolutely explode, if not within hours, certainly within days. It's not going to take much to set this whole thing off.